On my soul, I am so infinitesimal. Oh, they say it started with a big bang, but they say it was really just a small thing. Strangely, I'm feeling like a big bang.
Hello listeners, and thanks for tuning in to Buffalo Lab Radio Free. I'm your host, Eunice Randall, and let me be the first to welcome you to Season 2 of our show. I want to extend a very heartfelt thanks for all the support that I received over the kind of bumpy road that was Season 1. But I'm really proud of how the show has evolved so far, and I'm really excited about all the things I have in store for Season 2. We're talking more regular episodes, more tutorials, more local interest stuff, more secret side projects. It's going to be great. But instead of talking you all to death, let's get to the good stuff. I am here filming at Z80 Labs, where I'll be talking to Oscar Pedroso and David Brenner, who are the entrepreneurs behind Thimble, the new monthly subscription for makers. So let's go to that now. Thanks for coming on the show, Oscar and David. Welcome. So can you tell us a little bit about Thimble and the concept behind it?
Sure. So Thimble is a monthly subscription. We deliver a box to your home every month, and you get electronic components to build a specific kind of device. For example, a Wi-Fi robot, which happens to be our first kit that we're launching with.
Awesome.
LED cubes, quadcopters, home automation devices, any sort of cool, really gizmo out there that people want to play with. And then the concept also includes an educational component as well. So you log onto our learning app, which walks you step by step on how to build each kit, basically. So you're progressing over time, becoming better, hopefully building your own products at the end of the day.
So you're starting a Kickstarter, I know. Can you tell us about that and the goal, and some about your first project?
Sure.
Yeah, so our goal for the Kickstarter is $25,000. With electronics, you get a discount in quantity, because then you get to use all the automation tools and pick and place machines and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If we sell 500 kits, we get enough of a discount to make it, make economic sense for us to sell
that makes sense.
kits. So our first kit is this Wi-Fi robot here. Basically, you'll get a nice box that has everything that you need to build the robot, and then we have a learning app like Oscar was talking about to go through how each of these components work. And we say learning, but it's not going to be like sitting in a classroom. It's more like like a YouTube DIY kind of video.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it works, this is what it does, and this is how you can use it and make it better and do all these different things with it. So just to go through the parts of the kit real quick, we have the platform, which is a laser cut plywood, the wheels, the motors, which are just simple DC motors, all the batteries, 4 AA batteries, and then the battery holder. It's Arduino based, and then it has a PCB shield that has the motor controller and the ESP Wi-Fi module.
Cool.
So yeah, since it has Wi-Fi, you can control it from an Android or iOS app. So I can make the robot move from the app. And you can also, you can also expand upon it and add a button to read from sensor data, so you can add your own sensors and stuff on.
Oh, cool. It sounds like you guys are really focused on, understanding what you're doing, not just putting something together, which is cool.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, half the time when we do talk to people who are interested in Thimble, they usually say, well, half the time I don't know what project ideas I want to start with. And then beyond that, you got to figure out what components you need. And that's time consuming and can be expensive. And then the third part is, where do I acquire the knowledge to actually build it? So we're trying to create an experience around that whole somewhat of a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so, even complete beginners, that are maybe intimidated, maybe even to go into a makerspace or something. I know, when I have a couple friends, when they were first starting off, they're like, can you teach me something privately before I go and embarrass myself? Which no one should be embarrassed about, not knowing something. It's just whatever, you're going to learn it. So yeah, we want to make it, accessible for everyone.
I was going to ask, what's your target demographic for this? When you design a project, who are you picturing building that project?
We're focused probably, I'd say, the 18 to 35 crowd. For a while, we were like, well, everyone, because if you try to pinpoint a maker, it kind of spans a variety of age groups. But what we've at least seen on a couple sites like Reddit, and then we're meeting people at maker fairs, a lot of programmers, who have great software skills, but they actually want to put them to use aside building websites. They actually want to understand firmware and then learn how software and hardware work together to make something like this move, for example.
So I'm going to give a slightly different answer because I really think that like really anyone can build this stuff. Like we've seen kids as young as like 6 years old at maker fairs that, you know, are pointing out components on the PCB and telling me, you know, what they do and like, oh yeah, I've used that motor controller before and, you know, I2C and all this stuff. So I really think anyone can, you know, build this stuff. And I mean, there's this little story that I always like of a mathematician at Stanford in like the 1930s or something. Came to class late and there was a problem on the board that was like a unproved at that point statistical you know, problem in statistics, and he went home and thought it was homework, so he jotted it down real quick, solved it, and then his professor, you know, ran to his house like weeks later after he found it, submitted in the homework pile, and was like, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to write a paper about this, and it was published. And I think the moral of that story, even though, you know, it's a true story, but I think the moral of that story is when you tell someone that they can do something, then they, you know, they'll just do it. Yeah, they'll just do it. You know, they'll actually get it done. So I think we saw that a lot over the summer at the Boys and Girls Club at Buffalo. We worked with 12 to 14-year-olds. We had, I think, 12 kids actually, and we had them build these little LED cubes, which is another project that we can show you. It's this thing right here. Yeah, I mean, none of them had soldered before. None of them had any programming experience, and by the end of it, I think 9 of them wanted to be engineers. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I think it really is a matter of just telling people like, you can do this, do it.
I was going to ask, what's your kind of grand vision for the project, and I feel like you're already touching on it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's really cool. What's your timeline for the Kickstarter and for the project?
Well, we're launching the Kickstarter December 8th, which is next Tuesday, and it's going to be a 60-day campaign, and based on once the campaign's over, we plan to ship most of the kits starting in April, hopefully sooner, but we're giving ourselves some extra leeway in there just in case, just because this is our first time shipping product, but
and then it's a monthly subscription starting then?
Yes, monthly. We've also talked to a lot of people who think monthly is a lot, so we're also trying to think of other types of subscriptions where maybe it's every other month or once a quarter or however often you want to build something, you know, leave it up to the person to decide.
Very cool. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and good luck with your Kickstarter and your subscription product. It sounds really awesome.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching Buffalo Lab Radio Free.